Welcome to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. And now, it's time for our story. Once upon a time, there was an Anhinga named Layla. Layla the Anhinga lived in the wetlands where the tall trees swayed gently in the breeze and dipped into the water. She was having a wonderful morning in her wonderful watery world. The sun was shining just right, and the marsh was alive with all sorts of birds, squawking, chirping, and flying about. Layla the Anhinga loved her home. It was perfect for her, with lots of water, tall grass, and plenty of fish to eat. But today, Layla was on a mission. She had just finished her morning swim, where she had been diving underwater to catch fish. Unlike most birds, Layla the Anhinga couldn't just sit at the top of the water and fish. She had to dive deep, using her long, sharp beak like a spear to grab her lunch. And she was really good at it. But there was one thing about being an Anhinga that was a bit tricky. Her feathers got soaked. Unlike some other birds, Layla's feathers weren't waterproof. The cormorants, her cousins, had the same problem. They would dive and get all wet too. But the herons, ibises, and storks, they didn't understand. They could just stand in the water, wade around, and stay dry while catching their food. And they always teased Layla the Anhinga and the cormorants for looking so wet and soggy when they came out of the water. But Layla didn't mind the teasing too much. She was used to it. After all, getting wet was just part of being an Anhinga. But today, she had a different problem. She needed to dry off. And there wasn't a good spot in sight for her. Where am I going to dry my wings? Layla the Anhinga thought, flapping her soaked feathers. Normally, she'd find a nice sunny spot and spread her wings wide, letting the sun do its job. But today, every branch and log where the sun was shining on seemed to be taken. The herons were standing tall on the best logs, looking so proud. The ibises were perched on the low branches, grooming their shiny dry feathers. And the storks? Well, they had taken over the grassy patches, stretching their long legs and making the ground look so cozy. Layla sighed and looked around. I guess I'll just have to find my own special spot, she thought. So she flapped her wings and flew to a nearby branch. But down swooped a cormorant, snatching it up right before her. Sorry, Layla, the cormorant said, looking embarrassed. First come, first served. Layla the Anhinga tried another spot, but a heron quickly shuffled over and blocked it with its tall legs. Better luck next time, the heron squawked, its long neck bobbing in the air. Ah, Layla groaned. She was getting frustrated. Her wings were heavy and soggy, and all she wanted was to dry them off. Then, an idea popped into her head. Maybe I'll try something new. Maybe I'll dry off while flying. Layla the Anhinga took a deep breath, stretched out her long wings, and leapt into the air. The wind felt nice on her feathers, and for a moment, she felt light and free. This might actually work, she thought with excitement. But as Layla flew higher and higher, her wet feathers made it harder and harder to stay in the air. Soon, she started wobbling and wobbling until... splat! She tumbled right back into the water. Oh no! Layla the Anhinga laughed as she splashed down. Well, that didn't go as planned. From the shore, the herons, storks, and ibises giggled softly. Even the cormorants tried to hide their chuckles behind their wings. But Layla wasn't mad. She knew that every Anhinga had to find their own way to deal with wet feathers. Determined to find a spot, Layla the Anhinga swam to the edge of the marsh, her long neck poking up out of the water like a snake. She looked around one more time. And then, there, at the far end of the marsh, was a little tree with a big sunny branch all to itself. Layla was excited and said, "That's it! That's my perfect spot!" She wiggled her way over to the tree, her legs kicking under the water as she swam. Once she reached the shore, she hopped up onto the branch, fluffed up her feathers, and stretched out her wings as wide as she could. The sun felt so warm, and the breeze started drying her soggy feathers almost immediately. As Layla the Anhinga basked in the sunshine, she smiled and thought about how every bird in the marsh had their own special way of doing things. The herons, ibises, and storks might never understand what it was like to be an Anhinga, and that was okay. She didn't need to be like them. She loved being an Anhinga. She loved diving for fish, swimming with her head poking out of the water like a snake, and even drying her wings in the sun. It was all part of who she was. Just as her feathers were finally dry, one of the young cormorants flew over and landed on the branch next to her.
"Hey, Layla,"
the young cormorant said, all shy.
"that was a pretty funny fall earlier. But this is a great spot you found. Mind if I join you?"
Layla the Anhinga chuckled and scooted over a little. "Of course! There's always room for a friend." And so, as the sun set over the marsh, Layla and her new friend sat side by side, wings outstretched, soaking up the last sun rays of the day. The herons, ibises, and storks all continued doing their own thing, but Layla didn't mind. She had found her perfect spot. And she knew that no matter what, being an Anhinga was just right for her. And as the gentle breeze ruffled through her now dry feathers, Layla smiled, feeling completely at home in her wonderful, watery world. And the Anhinga lived happily ever after. The end. The Anhinga is sometimes called snakebird, darter, American darter, or water turkey. The word Anhinga comes from Anhinga in the Brazilian Tupi language, and it means snakebird or devilbird. Anhingas don't have nostrils, but breathe through their epiglottis, which is a small flap in their throat that prevents food and water from entering their lungs. The Anhinga is in the darter family, which are tropical water birds in the family of Anhingidae. The Anhinga live in warm swamplands and shallow waters. Most Anhingas can be found in South America, in the United States in the Southeast, Cuba, Mexico, and the Caribbean islands. The Anhinga is a large bird, and they can range from 30 to 37 inches long, with a wingspan of over 3.5 feet. They can weigh from 2 to 3 pounds. Their bills are long, sometimes about twice the length of their head, and they're sharp and pointed and colored yellow, and they have webbed feet that are yellow too. Anhingas have long, thin necks, which is why some people call them snakebirds, because when they're swimming in the water, all you can see are their necks and their heads, which is shaped like a snake about to strike. Their beaks are sharp and pointy, perfect for catching fish. They have long wings and tails, which help them swim and dry off. Anhingas are usually black or dark brown with shiny feathers that can look a little green or blue in the sunlight. The males are darker, while females are lighter and have brownish necks. Anhingas love living in wetlands like marshes, lakes, and rivers, and swamps. They enjoy being near water, so they could dive to catch fish. When they swim, they can sink low in the water with just their neck sticking out, like a snake. Unlike ducks, their feathers don't repel water, so they can get wet when they swim. The Anhinga mostly eats fish, but they can also catch other small water animals, like frogs or insects. They use their sharp beaks to stab or grab their food. After they catch a fish, they flip it in the air and swallow it head first. Sometimes the fish can be stuck on their sharp beaks, which they need to pull it off from a rock or something else before they eat it. Anhinga's feathers are not waterproof, which means they get soaked after swimming. They love to sit in the sun and spread out their wings to dry. You can see them perched on branches or logs with their wings wide open, kind of like they're showing off. Anhingas are cousins to cormorants, who also dive and get their feathers wet. Other birds like herons, storks, and ibises live in the same places as Anhingas, but they don't dive or swim as much. Anhingas don't really mind sharing their home with other birds. Anhingas build their nests in trees or bushes that are close to water. The mother and father Anhingas take turns sitting on the eggs until they hatch. The baby Anhingas are fed by their parents until they're old enough to fish on their own. Anhingas help keep fish populations balanced by eating small fish. Anhingas are a part of the wetland ecosystem, which means they help keep their home healthy. Have you seen a real-life Anhinga before? If you have, where did you see it? Thanks for listening to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. Until next time, bye! If your child enjoys cats, drawing, or writing, you might also like my Everyday Cats Journals. They're a 4-book journal series, each with fun covers showing cats with human bodies doing silly and everyday things. Inside, kids can look for little objects from the cover that appear in the top corners of the pages and try to find them all as they write or doodle. The Everyday Cats Journals are available on Amazon. You can find all the details in the show notes.